Is recording pending? Don't know if it started. Okay. Okay, I think yeah, the meeting started.
Awesome. Okay, so hi everybody, and welcome to Passion Empire Podcast, the podcast to fuel and ignite the best version of you while keeping things real, fun, and relatable. So, this is a new year, so happy new year to everybody. So, Passion Empire is back with season two, and we are kickstarting season two with our first episode, which we're probably going to deep dive in with the topic that probably isn't expected to be to probably say a lot or to probably unravel the passion behind. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited for this episode and the guest speaker that we have today, who happens to be somebody I work with in my new job at Ernst and Young. So give it up for Jason Fang, JP, and Jason Fang, JF, who is my partner, who will be my the person to uh, support me in uh, interviewing Jason Fung.
You
That was weird.
know
But anyway,
you know when something is about to go down when you see someone with similar name and it's in a similar session that we're gonna interview and really podcast that. But yes, yeah, nice to meet you, Jason. Yes, definitely sounds weird calling my own name. But yes, really nice to meet. I think whatever Alicia shared, do you know justice in a way? You definitely have much more things to share. So I think let's start off with this short. Before you introduce yourself, I think let's just kick off with this very short mini game that I always like to play whenever it comes to meeting new people. So I call it word association game. So I'm just gonna give you roughly five words. You're just gonna run through what's the first phrase, first sentence, or even the first word that comes to mind. So the first word I'm going to give you is the new year.
Opportunity.
Opportunity, nice. Okay,
nice.
so the next one, youth, the youth of today.
Concerned.
Concern. Interesting. All right, next one. I think the topic that what's this word? The topic that we all hold very deeply to us in our hearts is passion.
Um, Required.
Quiet. Interesting. All right.
Mhm.
I think this will be my last question, which will be a more lengthier answer from you. COVID.
Disastrous.
Disastrous.
Oh
All right.
no. Yeah, that's a
Reason
good
reason
one.
why? Yes, that's a very good one. Reason why I said about COVID as well. I've heard from Alicia with the amount of not just say rumors, but the amount of news from her saying that you're super passionate in COVID and everything. From being the best part is you still having a full time job, but the amount of passion and the work. Even right before we started, he was saying that he still was researching about articles, about work stuff that
Mm-hmm.
he could share to the people today. It's amazing, really to have you. So let's just start off with this easy one. Just introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Jason Pang. So, in this conversation, I'll just introduce myself as JP. I've been actually, well, I was once a student 5 years ago, and then I've joined UI for the past 5 years now as a consultant. But I've been doing a lot of project management work in my line. A lot of SSC projects. I've done some implementation projects, but mainly as a project manager in my role. So, why I decided that this was a very relevant topic, I think for the past 2 years, or I would say maybe 2.5 years for some, is that we actually have been in a pandemic. And I know it's very tiring, lockdowns and everything. And of course, it is very much different compared to the 5 years ago when I was still in uni. People didn't really have to wear masks. Everyone could go anywhere at any time. I remember we were talking about going to Europe for a holiday when you were studying, right? We're talking about going to Poland, going to France without like restrictions, especially when you're a Malaysian and you have a Malaysian passport. I think you can just travel so many places without really needing to apply for a visa, especially for holiday. So for me, I mean, I took upon the opportunity to actually look into this because I I was doing a lot of regional projects at that point of time, and traveling was at that point of time, like 2 years ago, was still a good thing. You still could travel for your projects, and I thought that this impacted not just one domain, right? It would impact different industries, airline industries. I've known some people who didn't have a job, right? And they got like salary cut 50% just because they couldn't fly in the earlier days of COVID. And they sold off their like second car, their third car just to try to stay afloat. And I think it's very painful to see
Agree.
people go through all this kind of hardship. I mean, death always will be there, but I'm talking not just about that death element, like you get COVID, you might have the like you might pass away. I'm also talking about the well-being, talking about people losing their jobs, talking about people who were in a long-term relationship, maybe they cannot meet their loved ones, or
Mm.
people who are just planning to go to university. So yeah, so I just took upon myself. I said that in these 2 years since we have the pandemic, I'm going to use whatever skills I picked up as a consultant, as a project manager, to really go and see how can we resolve this problem. I know it's a very big problem, right? And I think one thing I learned in EY is like picking up the big problem and chopping it up to like 1,000 small pieces and kind of identifying what would resolve this big problem. So I think that's how it started. So maybe quite a lengthy introduction, but yeah, this is where we are.
No worries. I love you sort of deep dive down to a bit of the topic already for today, but I just want to touch on the one key thing. I love how I think I need to find more Jasons in the world because I need to prove whether this theory works or not. Because whatever you're doing is whatever I'm doing as well. I'm sort of like a project manager at my company as well. So it's like in my head, examples as soon as you name your son Jason, future project manager. But yes, that's just a side topic. So thank you so much for sharing the amount of COVID and the amount of what's this word? The experiences that we had. Some sold their cars, some really had to really stay afloat. The struggles, and I resonated to an extent because I love to coach and train a lot of youths as well. Those that just entered to university during the pandemic is the saddest one. They don't even have this thing called university life. There's no lifestyle changes. They're still stuck at home. My God. But yes, with that, Alicia, wait up before I jump into the pain. But yes,
Okay, awesome. So probably JP, let's backtrack a little bit, right? Before COVID, before project management. Share with us how did you even get started with EY?
Why did I choose EY? This is sounding like an interview question already, like why did I choose EY? I think, as an accounting and finance grad, you would want to choose something slightly related to your field. So, EY being like the big four, you would definitely want to, choose those as one of your first options. So it was either EY or HSBC, and
Mhm.
I'm very glad to say that I've chosen EY. It's been a very challenging 5 years as a consultant, but the stuff that you learn there, I think it's very good that you can apply it into not just like for like not just at work, but when you take it out and you can also do COVID project management, why not? Right?
Awesome. But I
nice.
really resonate with that though. I mean, accounting and finance background right here. So,
Yeah,
and now we're in consulting, right?
yeah, yeah.
Crazy. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I think just to elaborate on that, how did what was that jump like? What was that jump like from whatever you had to where you are today?
Um, you mean in terms of from project manager to kind of taking into details of the COVID situation, or
Yep.
okay. So it always starts with a year with when you are in a project and you are thinking about, you know, um, what is next, right? Next 3 months, next 4 months. So of course, there's this mysterious disease from Wuhan that was first announced sometime in 2019. And at that time, I was still in a regional project lah. Okay. So at that point of time, I think we were saying like, okay, yeah, there's this disease coming along, right? How will that impact my project? And if you look at it in a very PMO point of view, you would say, okay lah, never mind lah, small thing. But as the year progressed and as we traveled more, it started to seem a bit off in January already or December in 2019. You start to see cases go up in China, and even though like I think for one of the projects, one of the sites were in China, I still managed to go to China or Shanghai in February. But during that time already, we were starting to plan like, what if this gets serious, right? What if this spreads? So we were trying to build certain methodologies up because this is something very new. It's like starting from not from scratch. It's like, okay, if let's say we cannot travel, how will we do our meetings, right? How will we do our communications with clients? How do
Agree.
we manage projects from a distance, right? So we had to think fast, of course, because there's a timeline to meet. And then we started to plan for, how to manage COVID, which is like your online meetings, use the online tools. Nowadays you have your Google Sheets, a shared drive and all these
Mm,
tools. And that's also when Zoom started picking up, right? Everyone was
agree.
using Zoom. Everyone was, moving from physical to, online meetings. Everyone was talking about how to set up the come to office, don't come to office thing already. And
Correct.
and that kind of continued throughout the 2 years, in that sense. But for me, I think the interest for me was mainly on what drove the numbers, right? And what drove people to make decisions. And of course, numbers don't tell lies because they are facts, right? You're talking about the active cases, you're talking about the death rates, right? And you're talking about detection. Where is it detected more? So that to me actually was how I started that transition from just pure project management traditional style to really like upgrading the game and going into digital. So yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. Amazing. I love the story. It's just identifying of a certain problem and then you wanted to fix your own problem now, I think that's where it comes from. Then you
Yeah.
became superbly passionate in it. Now you're fixing everyone else's problem as well. I assure you that. Nice, nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly, I think by the way JP talks about it also, I can already feel his, passion for it. I remember you were saying you keep track of the news like every hour or something,
Yeah.
right? Like,
My God, every
yeah.
hour?
Yeah. I, I,
Yes.
I, I absorb the news now hourly on an hourly basis because I think things are changing very fast. Even the vaccines roll out, right? It was a record time roll out vaccine. That's why people are so scared of the vaccine, right? 1 year, ooh, boom, vaccine.
Correct. Agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess considering the amount of research, experience, insight, news, projections that is, being put out there about COVID, and considering how things are changing very fast, things are so dynamic right now. How do you think this year is going to look like for COVID?
Okay, so of course, like I say, I don't just view it in a specific angle, but if you take a look at the economists, they do this 2022 projection trend. Okay, and they are looking at COVID in different angles. So two topics will drive 2022. The first topic for COVID would be, of course, on the vaccine rollout from pandemic to endemic phase, right? Vaccines were last year's key story. We wanted the vaccines to go out to everyone, and we were really talking about vaccine inequality last year. For this year, I think the focus is really to shift from that vaccine rollout to pandemic to endemic. We are still talking about vaccine rollout because I think there are some countries that do not have the vaccine. Um, and the vaccination rate for those countries are really low. Maybe I'll share something with you later when we go through this, just to show some figures on the new cases versus the vaccination rates versus the death. rates, but that's one of the topics that how COVID will evolve. The second thing I think is very important for us to talk about is actually on well-being, because uh, for a pandemic to end, there are two types of ends for pandemic. One is called social ending, and the one is the true end of COVID, right? The social end refers to when you are tired of the pandemic, right? The virus is still out there, but people are just so tired of it. And a good example that I can see this is maybe one of the French president, right? I mean, he was so recently there was this news saying that um, he was so frustrated with 5 million people who are unvaccinated for his country that he cursed and sweat, and he said that I need to set a law and I need to do social blocking so that people need to take the vaccine. You know, and you can see even the leaders are frustrated. Lucky for us, Malaysia, I think we have quite a good leader to manage this. I think all three of us can agree that he's done quite a good job in procuring the vaccines and doing the rollouts on time lah. With Mr. KJ, right, Kari Jamaluddin. so, so yeah, that's the probably the second thing. And the real end for COVID, I think that one we will have to take time to do that, because even with herd immunity, there will be fragments lah. And it's so hard to get people to go on board and get vaccinated. I think this is a very real topic that I think everyone should, be aware of. Vaccination is not really kind of the end. I feel like in the beginning when we were saying like, okay, when you get vaccinated, you can go and travel, right? I think this was kind of the general promise for those people who wanted to go and get vaccinated. But
Correct.
I mean, until today, there are still so many restrictions. Not to say that they are bad. I think these restrictions are good. But it's what do we need to do to kind of take that checklist before we can say, okay, I need PCR tests, I need this, I need that before I can travel, and just open the gates, but with proper SOP. That to me is what I would like to see this year lah. So if you talk about forecast, I hope that with the proper SOPs, we get to live our life once again. It's the same last time when you were a student. Okay, when I was a student, when I had to go to UK, they asked me, okay, Jason, you need to go and get this vaccination checkup, you need to get your tetanus shot, right, before
Correct.
you can actually go overseas. For me, it's the same thing. I don't know what changed for COVID. Maybe it's very virulent. It can transmit very easily, and it's very hard to detect in the initial stages, and it's not as bad as tetanus. But yeah, I think we need to just set SOPs and talk about moving forward, not really looking back and like point fingers at each other anymore. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah. The other key topics that are non-COVID related, like climate change, as you can see, I think now there are very weird, freakish weathers around the world. Snowstorm in Japan, heaviest in 4 years. You hear Malaysia flooding.
Sudden flood
Yeah,
in Asia. Yeah.
yeah, sudden floods in Malaysia. So I think climate change is also one of the key topics that we are going to talk about this year.
Mm.
And okay lah, maybe the last one I want to talk about is actually the economy.
Mm.
As you know, right, COVID has affected not just uh people's health and people's well-being, like the travel point of it, like that's the well-being part, but I'm talking about the economy. And this also drives into poverty. So why do I say poverty is because like you said, like imagine students not being able to go to school, right?
Agree.
And those people who really suffer are not the rich and wealthy. They can afford laptops, they can afford good education for their children, but it's really on those people who cannot afford, right? Who still require to, swim across that river and go to the schools, right? Yeah, I mean Sabah Sarawak, I've seen some missionary trips that they go and do that. These kids actually walk kilometers to school. They
Agree.
don't have public transport. And how does it affect them when the schools close?
Mm.
It's a very sad situation. So I think the disparity will continue to grow if we don't do anything about it. Yeah, so another thing I feel like we need to just end this, and I feel like if we can just set SOPs in check and move past this COVID, I think we would slowly but surely recover as a nation and as a world. Yeah. So that's my take on 2022. Quite heavy.
Yeah,
Very
very good
insight.
insights though.
Very,
Okay, so maybe I'll add on from here. Since you mentioned about health and well-being, right? Because that is something that I really care about. So I think people tend to compare COVID to the past, the Spanish flu and things, pandemics of the past. But surprisingly, health and well-being has become such a priority. Like now, everyone is observing how COVID is, affecting everybody, the elderly, children, healthy adults. And yes, vaccination is a temporary way to sort of decrease the likelihood of you contracting the disease. But is it a long-term solution to protecting you or your safety essentially? So, what's your take on that?
So we are talking about vaccination rates now, yeah? Okay, so maybe I can just share my screen on the right-hand side and I can just share some stats. Okay, let me know if you can take a look at my
Consultant stuff
screen.
again.
Yes, I'm so sorry, but yeah.
No worries.
Okay, so I think there's a few pieces of the puzzle that we would need to look into. First one, I think, is the person fully vaccinated for 100%.
okay.
And globally, we're only at 50%, if you can see here.
Yeah.
It's quite, it's only half of the world. Okay, we need
Mm.
to be like 70%.
Yeah.
So I've selected a few countries here. A good spread from rich countries to like middle income to poor countries lah.
Mm,
But mainly you can see the rich countries and the attitude towards vaccination and all this kind of stuff.
correct.
Okay, so for US, 60% vaccination rate. Okay,
That's
they in the beginning of the pandemic, who was the one who bought up all the vaccinations? Mainly it was them, right? They bought
Yeah.
up most of the vaccines and they were put on priority list. Same with the United Kingdom. But in terms of the person fully vaccinated, you can see like United Kingdom has a higher percentage compared to US. Yeah.
agree.
Now let's take a look quickly at the cases, and this is on the past 7 days because of Omicron. So you can see that the cases started to rise again, right? The correlation shows basically what happens between the 7 days versus the deaths reported. So for those of you who do not have a visual aid, let me just announce the numbers. So for United States of America, there's around 3.8 million of new cases reported for the past 7 days of new COVID cases. And this is a split between Delta and Omicron.
Mm,
So based on what research we have done lately, we have seen from the South Africa research that Omicron is less deadly compared to the Delta variant. So
mm,
that's why you can see the death rates are not really high. But because of their low vaccination rate is slightly higher compared to other countries. And the cases are high. Okay. Take a look at UK. For UK is 69 and they also do have Omicron, right? But you look at their 7 days reported figures, it's just 1.2, and the death rate is like what 1,100 cases. So
mm,
that's not even like 1%. Um, yeah, so I do agree that vaccinations do play a very important part for people to get certain levels of immunity, and the research has shown that we were lucky. Actually, it's not because Omicron just decided to mutate in such a way that it is less infectious. I mean less deadly, but more of it was by chance, right? So when we have the opportunity, of course, we would like to make sure that we have the vaccines, people are immune to it,
agree.
and we can also get protection from Delta.
Mm,
So the story behind Omicron or the research behind Omicron is this. So you do have different variants, right? You have your alpha, you have your beta, you have your other types of variants.
correct.
So for Delta, it was a substrain. right? So the substrain, it moved towards more deadly lah. That's why it was more deadly and it was more virulent. That's why you can get it quite fast. But it is its own strain, okay? For the Omicron, it, it mutated from the alpha strain, okay? So the alpha strain, right, is less deadly compared to the delta, as you can see. So luckily for us, it mutated in such a way that it was like a special strain. It became more efficacious. So hopefully it will displace delta. And by being more efficacious means it will like, have more people have it very quickly, more people have it, and it will propagate faster than delta, right? So it will beat delta in terms of the virulent rate. And if it's less deadly, it means it's also good for us. So for me, the data shows that yeah lah, if you are vaccinated, then you have a higher chance of surviving this compared to if you were to you know depend on, they call it natural immunity, which is more on your body trying to fight off the disease on its own. So yeah, there are different schools of thought when it comes to vaccination, and of course, I do not want to go in there because I think that is a very big political stance. But for me, if you ask my personal stance, I think it's good for us to be vaccinated. At least it's like buying insurance. You don't know, you don't plan to use it, but it's good to have.
Agree.
So
Prevention
true.
better than cure. That's nice, nice, nice. Cool. I really love the statistics that you shared. Trust me, Jason, I've never seen someone so enthusiastic and passionate as you that you have statistics on the go. It's amazing. It's even eye shocking to me as well. For those audience who are listening and tuning in, we can legitimately see it visually right in front of our eyes. But yes, for the benefit of the audience who are listening in as well, the numbers are really scary. All I can see is the amount of death rates, and it goes by millions and not even by thousands anymore. And it just imagine your brothers and sisters in it, so or your family members in it. And I felt it as well because I can feel a few of my friends also passed away due to COVID, so on and so forth. So that's where, for those who are alive, this is the part where I would love to jump in more. I think Alicia also agree with me, which is the mental health side on how COVID really affected the mental health. Uh, Many aspects of this, I think you can choose it on your own, Jason. Which aspect you want to jump into, or you want to jump into all, feel free. The aspect of losing a loved one through COVID, or the aspect of changing jobs or losing jobs through COVID, or even the aspect of uncertainty. Because most of the clients or even the young professionals today that we work with is this. They are superbly uncertain. The
Yeah.
university students that just graduated is further uncertain, and uncertain is one, being unequipped is another, because they didn't have the amount of exposure we had. They are stuck with all this in between hiccups. So
Yeah.
how has really, how, what can you show? What do you have for us to see in terms of mental health? How did COVID affected us?
Okay, so maybe I can share one story. It's not data related, but it's a story on and also it showed up in the news lah. So uh, it's more of how students as well as people would like to go to a country. And I feel like Japan is a very good example because I know Malaysian and a lot of Southeast Asian people like to go to Japan. And recently I also have quite some interest to go to Japan. So um, but I was listening into this girl's story, this 20-year-old girl who wanted to go into Japan since she was 18, right? So she's 20 now. And she was sending a video saying goodbye to Japan because her dreams couldn't come true, right? She's not a not like pharma scholarship, she no one to fund her to go to school. And by the way, she actually got scholarship in Japan the first year to enter into the country and got her COE, early. And I was quite upset when I got to hear that she said that, I'm going to give up on my dream because I just cannot take it anymore. So I mean, if you want the ending, she ended up needing to apply to a local university and pay her way through because her results were only valid like 1 year after she got the results. But imagine, you have this goal that when you're a student, you said, I want to go to Japan and everything is ready. And then the borders decide to close, right? So then we wait, right? So when someone promises you something, especially we believe lah, because Japan is very, they do things quite systematically. They always keep towards their word and they're trustworthy people. So this lady has been waiting to go into the country, even though she has all the documentation. So she waited for 2 years, and she still said that she's going to give up on this because I mean she also has been following the news as crazily as me, and she was talking about the cases in Japan, how they managed it, right? And we accept because we do understand that this is the situation out there. People are falling sick. Japan has a very high, population which are the elderly, right? So they are actually people of concern, right? They are the ones who are the people that we need to take care of. They have a very high aging population, so for Japan, locking down was making a lot of sense to them, right? But then there was that situation where you had the Olympic Games, right? And then like you're talking about allowing 90,000 athletes come into the country,
Yeah.
but then locking it down for tourism and all this kind of stuff. So of course this takes a toll on people lah. It's like uh even for me, like I said that I wanted to go there in 2020, but I mean today is 2022 already. I'm still
Yeah.
stuck here, right? I'm still waiting for the news, waiting for the borders to open. It was open for a while. I think in November they opened up because they were
Yep.
slowly saying that, okay, you know what, let's reopen.
Yep.
And believe it or not, within those 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, only three international students actually made it through. Only three.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's very real, because then you are like, oh my gosh, so what happens to the rest of us?
Correct.
And you will get news like talking about athletes being able to go into other countries today, or was it yesterday? Djokovic, the famous world number one tennis player.
Mm.
Yeah, he was denied entry to go into Australia, but they were saying like he's not vaccinated. Why was he even on the flight to
The
Australia,
flight.
right? And had to
Yeah.
go and deport, right? So it's very real, and of course for young people, we feel very heartbroken that we live in such a society that you know um sad to say lah, the rich and wealthy are the ones that are controlling what goes on or what happens and what doesn't,
True.
right? We feel very powerless,
Mm.
especially the millennials as well as the Gen Z. We always want to make an impact, right? We always want to make a difference, right? And now when something like this happens, it just shows us how powerless we are to make this world better. So for me, it does play a toll in terms of well-being in that sense,
Alright.
for students. For long distance couples, of course, I think that will also impact them, because imagine not seeing your girlfriend or boyfriend for like 2 years just
Yeah.
because the borders are closed.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's like, when you send your boyfriend to the military and you don't know when they'll come back.
Whether they will come back or not is another issue as
Yeah,
well.
exactly, exactly. So it's that kind of feel, like probably if you've never felt it before, that distance it's like that. But we only hope that we can do the right thing, by just keep trying to stay positive, but also at the same time make very informed decisions, right? Because when we make decisions, and I'm not just saying us as in like the young people, I'm talking about even like the leaders, right? Whatever decisions that they make will impact not just you know just their own well-being, right? It will impact the country's well-being, it will impact other people's well-being. Maybe they have to think like twice before either opening or closing a border. So yeah, for me, I feel like emotional well-being wise, they somewhat need to sort this out. It's not a lifestyle because currently today they are saying that it is just a lifestyle choice. You travel around, you go to some other country, but I think it's more than that. It's about, reaching your goals, trying to reach your opportunity, trying to reach your full potential, trying to find love, trying to find new opportunities, especially those who are job seekers, right? Trying to find new opportunities, trying to live your life. And we are so concerned about the germs and all these small, small elements than the bigger picture in life, right? So for me, yeah, well-being is so important. I've gone through some nights where I also cannot sleep just looking at the news. It's very heartbreaking. Yeah, children haven't seen their father yet, 2 years old. Oh my God.
Agree, agree. It's crazy. My God,
Don't
I
even
can,
know who their father is.
yeah, I don't even know their face growing up with it. Oh my God. But yeah, I can feel the amount of pain that when you were sharing and everything also. Not just the pain on your end when you started sharing. It's like, yeah, I have my fair. I think Alicia has hers as well. The amount of uncertainty that she's going through, but thankfully she landed a job now lah. But during that period, I tell you, when she was sharing, it was crazy. The uncertainty that it was just there lah, not just for youngsters, for adults as well. That's the scary part. I think to move on from there, I think I'll take this next question, Alicia. Sorry, thank you. So the next
No
question,
worries.
for this that you mentioned those who are in power in a way. So I think Alicia's gonna move on. The next question is how individually can move out from this. But for those who are in power, what's the action step for them? Take for example, as a manager yourself, I think, uh, how can you prepare or what can you do, especially for employees' mental health or mental well-being, knowingly all this scenario that's happening, but you still need to get the job done because you're not exactly like all the way the director or the founder as well. You still need to deliver KPIs above. That's where the dilemma happens. So how do you manage it?
So let me just put it into perspective. I think there are two types of approaches when you approach something like this. You either have a top-down approach where management push something down to you, or you listen on the ground, which is a bottom-up approach. You listen down to what people say, and then you make the decision based on what people say, right?
Mm.
And recently, I think let's not talk about just my company lah. Let's talk about other companies as well. A lot of companies have been actually actively looking into ways to uh, improve people's well-being, be it give them 4 days extra holiday just for a recoup, without MC. Say you just take that 4 days, you go and recoup whatever you need to do, go and recoup. There are people who are also thinking of taking a sabbatical, a few months don't work, try to go and sort out what they need to sort out in life,
Mm.
try to think and find out what they want. I've quite a lot of colleagues who actually quit the firm because they want to go to study or find out what they want lah. But in terms of managing company wise, I think a lot of us are like saying like, okay lah, annual dinner. We do virtual annual dinner, which was a first for me. They give you like Grab voucher coupon, buy whatever you want. Everyone go on the screen and do lucky draw.
Yep,
That
yep.
is also an activity, right?
Mm.
You have very intuitive companies who actually we outsource. We say, okay, you go and do some team building exercise with us. You go and set up some like escape room, but virtual escape room. So it's like
Yes.
everyone play game on the screen together. Try to do some team building. So I
Correct.
think those are very corporate way of doing certain things lah. But I think from a manager point of view is just really understanding what the associates as well as senior associates are going through, because I was once there. You are new to an organization, but I mean they are halfway there already. They got a job. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is for them is just how to use the tools and all this kind of stuff to really fully equip them. As for those people who are affected not just by COVID but by the flood in here in Malaysia, just have to be a bit more empathetic towards their situation because some of them maybe have lost homes, right?
Mm,
Some of them might have lost loved ones, maybe due to the flood and all these kind of things. We just have to be more empathetic lah. Understand, see what we can help with, be it like financial as well as emotional support, right? Try to listen and understand what they're going through.
I agree.
I feel like in terms of that kind of stance, that's all we can do. But
Mm,
of course, we are all humans lah. I believe that Malaysia is a very strong knit society. We like to do a lot of things together, right?
it's true.
It's not individualistic. So yeah, that's how we've been brought up. I feel like this is the
Very
Mohiba spirit lah, right?
true, true. I love how you shared apa ni the team building and all because a little background for you to know. So I'm part of Work Inspire. So generally we do trainings and learning engagement for companies as well. The amount of team buildings that we're asking, virtual ones specifically, and then when we ask the purpose of them doing it, they say we actually don't have the budget. We just need to how somehow connect back with our employees. And I said, oh, a simple lunch and learn would work. Like you mentioned, just asking them how was their day, really understanding and being empathetic, how are they struggling was really a key factor. So
Mm,
that really resonated with me. Thank you so much for sharing.
no problem.
Wow, that's a lot of great insight over there. Okay, I want to deep dive a bit because I think Jason and I had JP and I had this conversation, I think a while back, but it was sort of relating to EY, probably not just EY, but just companies in general, right? Because the youth or university students or graduates that are just coming out, they're so lost. They probably finished their final year remotely, like what I did. I remember feeling super stressed. So some of them are just starting uni. Like, we can no longer sort of adopt the approach that we used to take, where we just look at a resume and sort of see if a person's just a good fit, the person has relevant experience or education experience, and hire based on that, right? Probably even Jason, JF can give me some insight on this, right? But how do you think things are going to change moving forward because of this huge change?
Mm.
Huge change, as in huge change because of COVID,
Yeah,
or
like because of COVID in affecting how we learn and experience and develop ourselves.
I think we will need to talk about working remotely versus working on site, right? And that is also another theme for 2022. It's related to the way we work, the way we would do things. I think we would always have to change. Companies, I think, are now seeing the benefits of having virtual office, right? Don't have to pay for office space, don't have to rent a space, right? Save electricity, save water, right? So I think they're slowly moving out from this, and I think COVID has been a very good platform or good pilot for us to really force us out of that traditional working style, lah, right? As for those people who just graduated or are going to graduate, I think they are also going to be well equipped with what are the tools available for this as well, because it's going to be virtual, right? And in school, if they, let's say, gone through university, they also have done it virtually,
I agree.
right? So moving forward, in terms of the young people actually doing the jobs virtually, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that challenging for them. But for me, it's more of the human element after that. Okay. Imagine if you are in a sales job, right? You definitely need to go and see your client
Mm.
because you need to build that rapport, right? You need to have that personal connection. You need to read body language. There are a lot of elements that are still missing from going full digital.
Okay.
Maybe I want to raise something very interesting with you. Um, so Facebook has come out with this new technology. You can like meet someone virtually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to be the future. It's going to be pretty weird. It's like playing game, you change your avatar. It might not be the real person,
Oh god, that's true. That's
Sounds a
true.
bit
right?
creepy, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't know who you are meeting with. So I still
Yeah.
feel like there's a certain element of physical meetings that still need to be done. But as much as we can, if we can do it remotely, yeah, let's continue working remotely. And hopefully, when the pandemic is over, then maybe we can go somewhere else aside from our home countries and work from there. And that's my dream. Okay.
Nice, nice, nice. I agree, I
That's the
agree.
life.
That is definitely the life that everyone dreams of. I think just to add, I think amazing points brought up by you, Jason. So I think just to add one or two things is just when one door closes, we are forced to innovate lah. That's what, and then many other doors open. I think for personal experience wise is I love definitely like what Jason said. Working virtually is definitely a blessing. Instead of going through the jam, you wake up peace at mind and calm to work. But also works aside also is for companies has been innovating a lot. I've noticed these two things also because of the whole pandemic being pushed in. So I will always tell this to students as well. If for students out there who are still who is listening to this who are still studying, always do this. I will always share this with any podcast as it. Leverage on your student title, abuse it as much as you can, but don't get stuck into it. Reason being is because most of the time we say, oh, we're just students, I still got one more year lah, so on and so forth lah. 2-3 months down the road, at the end of your journey, I was like, shoot, now I need to find my stuff. That's where I think Alicia also mentioned about not the recruitment, not just using what's this word, resume. Reason being nowadays students can't really build their resumes also because they lack the experience. And I agree. Despite the pandemic has actually closed off a lot of doors for those experiences, but it actually opened up many more. I actually saw a few other students like Alicia also starting up this whole podcast and everything. If physical was here and there was no COVID, this podcast wouldn't happen. That's one number one deal. Many other students also had all these extra webinars asking trainers and asking speakers to come in. It will be more difficult for them to get those speakers and trainers to actually come and speak to them without the virtual setting. So I think there's always a bright side to all the dark side of the moon. So it's just always focus on the light at the end of the tunnel. Lah. So that's the one key thing I can take away for everyone. So yeah, amazing question. Thank you, Alicia. all
Yay.
right. All right. I think with that, I think in terms of time as well, I think let's just do one more last question. Okay, so one practical step. Okay, so one practical step, because you are so passionate in so many things. So you started off with PMO, you got the job, and then all the way here now with COVID and all the other statistics that you're reading, the amount of research that you have. One practical step. So for someone who found a certain passion, be it whatever it is, so be it speaking, training, doing project management job, as soon as they found the passion, they feel like they like it, what would that one practical step for them to continue working on it or do affirm them, I would say, affirm them whether it is just a side fling or it is something permanent for them to say.
Okay. So you're talking about what will continue to drive that person, right? Um, I don't know if both of you have watched Witcher series 2 yet, but
No.
yeah, it's on Netflix. Go and watch it.
Okay.
But I like one of the phrase that was in the beginning, right? He was saying that of episode 3 or 4, I cannot remember. I was saying that uh, the path is dark and unknown, right? But the path that you've chosen will protect you on the way because you have prepared your whole life, you've gotten ready for it, right? So I think that really applies to all of us. You might have a passion. Whether you decide that this is going to be a side thing or a main thing, right? I don't think that would reveal itself if you don't continue on doing what you do, right? Um, I I'm talking about your passion about let's say for me it's on these statistics, right? When will enough be enough, right? Is it going to be a side thing or is it going to be a main thing? For me, I have a goal that I need to reach, which is once the borders open, I can go and travel to Japan and meet someone. But I know that's my goal lah, and that will continue driving me to look at the stats every night, make sure I do my journals. But your main thing, like for instance, your job or where you want to be, is probably where do you see yourself in 5 years,
Mm.
right?
Cool.
And this is very consulting. You have a short-term and long-term plan. You have a 5-year roadmap and a 10-year roadmap, right? So for your short-term roadmap, say 5 years, what do you see yourself doing? If you see yourself doing the same thing after 5 years, then that is your main thing, lah. If after 5 years you see that this is not the trend that you do, then you keep it aside for now. I feel like that is a very systematic way of making decisions. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Uh,
Oh, you're on mute.
It's there's muted already.
oh shoot. Yes,
Okay,
Alicia, would
start
you like
first
to
lah.
share your thoughts? Yeah,
No,
I think.
no,
Yeah.
you start, you start.
Mm,
My thoughts. I
mm,
think if anybody were to ask me this, I would probably say something like what JP has said. I've been shot down a lot in terms of pursuing passions because I have more than one passion. I think JF knows I like to do a lot of things, and some may see that as a distraction or something that makes me unfocused or less than, when actually it's builds me up even more. It makes me stronger, makes me more capable, more agile, which is what's needed in the world today, with COVID, and how things have really changed, right? It's no longer traditional. Technology is so important, and all these mega trends that we observe with the world right now. So I would I would give the same similar advice, right? Never question your heart, your intuition, your gut feel, because these are subtle signs that you are on the right track. That doesn't mean it doesn't come with challenges or pain or heartbreaks or risk. It will always be there. But are you going to spend the rest of your life doing something that you're not happy with, knowing that the world is so uncertain that you could leave the world anytime? And what is that impact that you want to create? It doesn't have to be something so huge. It can be the smallest thing. Who do you want to spend your time with?
correct.
What makes you happy? These sort of reflective questions are so important to ask, especially in times like this. And it's been powerful for my mental health, and how I have grown so much in the past 2 years amidst the pandemic. And it's not to say that there's something special about me, but uh I knew what I loved, and I kept pushing, I kept investing, even though there were so many naysayers or bullies out there. And that is the same. And that's how you build resilience, and the success will follow you when your heart is in the right place.
I agree. I love that sentence. Success will follow you when your heart is in the right place. That's very true. I think for me, my one keynote, key thing to really share is always this. This one story, I don't know where I saw it from, most likely from TikTok. I'm still in the TikTok generation. So it is in general, when you're in the most darkest space and when you start questioning yourself, like whenever you're in the darkest space, you just need to ask yourself, can you still see your foot? If you can still see your foot and the next step you're going to take, just take the next step and you're fine. And related to passion and everything, explore is always the word. Trust me when I say this, in my head I was like, oh, when I was 17, 18, I was like, I want to become the best businessman. So when my age came to 20, 23, I was like, I want to become the best trainer. Then now I was like, I just don't want to speak as much and explore as much as I can. So things change along the way. Trust me,
Yep.
the keyword is always to explore. So yes, with that, we're moving towards the end. I think with that, I would always love to ask this. I also want to follow you as well. So where can one reach out to you if they really want to know more? Not just COVID wise, maybe who knows to get what is word, internship or employment placement. Yeah, right. Because it's the top points. Oh, I'm from Sunway, so Sunway was like, Sunway students is like top four must go. EY is the first option, second option, third option. Huh? So how could they reach out to you?
I think for internship, you just apply through EY. Okay, just apply through EY. I don't think I can take the load if like 1,000 people text me.
Whoops. Yes, can.
But I do not have a live stream or whatever. I guess if they want, they can just email me. I'll just give my email out. Yeah,
Okay.
then yeah, Jason is JASON underscore PHUNG 92 at hotmail.com. Yeah.
He revealed his age.
Okay.
He
Who knows?
just
It's a random number, right? That
Oh.
guy's
But yes,
No, that's his age.
yes, that is definitely his age. Yes, thank you so much. I think I would really, I would love to share that gratitude as well. It was really grateful to have you on the show to really understand the insights of it, the statistic of it, the fear of it, and the stories you shared. Especially, it reminded me a few times that, like you mentioned, the social ending. I think most of us want it to end already. Most of us just are sick and tired of it. So now is for all of us to really do our part, to just keep for now, whatever SOPs we have, the SOPs lah, slowly but surely, we will move forward with this. Deal with the uncertainty step by step per day. And with that, thank you so much, Jason, for spending your time with us. And thank you so much to the audience, whoever is listening and tuning in. Thank you so much for allowing Alicia and myself to actually walk you through this journey and to really kickstart off 2022. Short notice, there's many much more speakers like Jason to be appearing on the show. Hope to see you soon. Thank you, everyone, and good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, recording